We have an update tonight on that brazen daylight theft of a Porsche we told you about earlier this week. A female suspect has now been arrested. It all started with the vehicle's owner arranging a meeting to sell the Porsche at his home. Tyler Cheese explains why police say you should never do that.
18-year-old Sarah Badshaw of Brampton faces 4 charges, including dangerous operation of a vehicle causing bodily harm after a shocking daytime car theft on September 6th. Security footage shows Badshaw arriving at this home near Winston Churchill Boulevard and Eglinton Avenue for what seemed like a normal car sale. She spoke with the vehicle owner before getting into the car. Then suddenly she reversed, hit the owner, and sped off. With today's arrest, Peel Police are reminding the public about its buy and sell safety zones at local police stations.
Whether you're buying or selling collectibles, including vehicles, there are violent crimes going up. And we want our community to utilize the safe place to make sure that there is no crime and for their safety as well.
Cameras overlook the buy and sell zones, specialized parking spaces at local precincts. Anyone can use the zones to carry out transactions that have been previously arranged online.
We understand that internet platforms, they are excellent conduits when it comes to conducting transactions. But we also know that this gives a wide range to the fraudsters out there in our community who are targeting our vulnerable population and our unsuspecting citizens.
There are 5 buy and sell zones located in Peel Region, 2 in Mississauga, 2 in Brampton, and 1 at the airport. Exact addresses can be found on the Peel Police website.
It is best to do during the daylight hours, and it is always good to let your friend or a family member know that you are going somewhere to conduct a transaction, because there's a lot going on outside. Last but not least, do not give your personal information, your address, or any sensitive information to that person, which they can misuse or come back maybe later.
The meeting that led to the September 6th theft was arranged through autotrader.ca. In a statement, the website says it's supporting police with their investigation. The organization also offered safety tips for its users, including arranging to meet in a public location and vetting the potential buyer over the phone and online. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Mississauga.
In Milton tonight, a major crash has left 1 person with life-threatening injuries. This is the scene at Derry Road and Ontario Street. Halton police say 4 vehicles were involved in the crash, and it happened at around 5 this evening. 1 person was rushed to hospital with critical injuries, and roads in the area are closed for the investigation and extensive cleanup. As CBC News reported first, the Ford government is considering banning bike lanes if a lane of car traffic has to be removed. Here in Toronto, of course, the topic of bike lanes is divisive, and Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop takes us through what the government is considering.
CBC News has learned the Doug Ford government is looking at barring bike lanes if a lane of vehicle traffic has to be taken out. We first investigated after we received a stack of internal government documents from a source. In it, details of the proposal to prohibit bike lanes in those cases where a car lane must be removed. Government sources confirmed the PCs are considering it, but the government chose not to respond to our initial story. So I asked the Transportation Minister out at a separate announcement. He didn't directly answer on this, but talked about tackling gridlock.
So we have to look at a multitude of options. We have to look at what will work for the city, what will work for people across this province.
Bike lanes would normally be a power of municipalities, not the province. Toronto's mayor said she hasn't heard anything on this so far from the government. She gave the example of one busy area for bikes, Bloor Street downtown.
Imagine everyone that is on a bike, if they are all driving, that intersection, nothing will be moving.
But there's a section of Bloor West where the full separated bike lane is a hot issue. People blaming it for the traffic.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see the province stepping in. It's been here, especially, it's been atrocious. It's been nothing short of horrendous. The design and implementation of this lane has been awful.
This area is also in Etobicoke, near the Premier's house. No secret how he feels.
Get rid of those bike lanes on Bloor and Etobicoke.
But one expert says studies have shown bike lanes don't cause congestion, and says it would be a mistake to put a proposal like this in place province-wide.
That's an extreme measure that will have very little, if any, impact on traffic, but could have a huge impact on cyclist safety. We've had 6 deaths on the roads of Toronto alone just in 2024.
But he says with many drivers, especially in the suburbs where Doug Ford and his government want to win votes, this could be popular.
This government has signaled that the car is king. You can win elections in Ontario by showing that you're supporting driving.
The Green Party calls this an unserious proposal from an unserious government that doesn't have a plan to tackle gridlock, while the NDP says this is politics that plays with people's lives. Sources also confirm the government is looking at speeding up priority highway projects, including Highway 413, allowing construction 24/7. Now, specifically on Highway 413, the government is also looking at changing the environmental assessments so that they wouldn't be required for early works on that highway. All being looked at potentially part of legislation coming this fall. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, Toronto's terrible traffic is in the spotlight again today as the city tries to address gridlock. Mayor Olivia Chow unveiled new measures to fight congestion, including new fines and fees. City Hall reporter Sean Jeffords has that story.
If you've driven anywhere in Toronto, you've probably experienced it. Maybe it's a rideshare driver stopped to pick up a fare, or the driver in front of you needs a coffee, or just to run a quick errand. They pop on their four-ways and park in a live lane, snarling traffic behind them for blocks. It's the sort of misbehavior Mayor Olivia Chow says she wants to address with the city's latest congestion management plan.
Maybe they just got a Timmy's, I don't know, or they just deliver something illegally. It's just maddening.
The plan will see the fine for stopping in a live lane jump from $190 to $300. Chow says the city wants to use its arsenal of traffic cameras and TTC vehicle cameras to ticket rule breakers.
We are public servants. We do not violate people's privacy. But if you break the law, we need to catch you.
The city will take steps to speed up construction projects on some major streets. And it wants to impose a new congestion management levy on builders who occupy lanes to encourage them to speed up construction. This representative of the building industry is concerned about the new charges.
My understanding is the residential projects make up a very small percentage, less than 10, maybe around 5% of the overall closures. Builders don't want to be there any longer than they have to.
Councillor Brad Bradford isn't a fan of that levy.
I think we could also look at incentivizing folks to get those construction projects done quicker, whether that is lessening fees on permits for work that is completed faster, finding a way to incentivize the type of behavior that we want to see when it comes to our contractors to get things done faster, because that's what the priority has to be.
The report released today acknowledges the source of nearly half of Toronto's congestion is city projects. Transportation Director Barbara Gray says the work is essential.
I think we've all seen what happens when we don't do sewer projects and water main projects in a timely fashion. We get collapses, and when those happen, then we have to manage that as an emergency work.
Not all of the measures can be implemented right away, but city councillors will begin to dig into the plan next week at the Infrastructure Committee, and then City Council will have the ultimate say at a meeting in October. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
And if it seems like traffic can't get any worse in Toronto, just wait for this weekend. From Friday night to Sunday morning, the entire Gardiner Expressway will be closed. Lane Harrison explains why it's happening and what it means for drivers.
Drivers of the Gardiner Expressway are used to delays, but this weekend they're facing a total closure, starting 11 p.m. Friday until 10 a.m. on Sunday.
If you try to get anywhere in the city, you can't.
Everywhere, like if you go even a small street, you still have a traffic. So that's why the impact everywhere, not only one place.
The closure is happening for maintenance, cleaning, and inspections, but the city says the 35-hour inconvenience is happening to save pain down the road.
So this is actually equivalent to 30 different partial closures overnight, which would be just as impactful, if not more impactful, than doing all the work in one period of time such as this.
The work will include some resurfacing, repairs to potholes, and the replacement of guardrails.
We're going to be doing quite a bit of graffiti removal. There's been a lot of graffiti placed on the columns, on the bridges, and so forth. Also doing a lot of landscaping, so that's weed maintenance, grass cutting.
The city says it has a plan to mitigate traffic in the meantime, including traffic agents on parallel routes and adjustments to traffic signal timing. But overall, they're encouraging people to get around in other ways, like taking public transit.
As a taxi driver, I will not even go downtown unless a customer asks me to take him downtown.
Asadullah Popal has been driving a cab in Toronto since 1995 and says traffic has gotten much worse. With all his years on the road, he has some simple tips for drivers this weekend.
The secret is to take the 401 and go around it. Do not even go downtown, Queen, King, University. Get a large coffee and just sit down, and yeah, you're going nowhere. And plan ahead, just plan ahead. If you can.
With the city reaching what feels like peak congestion, some advocates say less vehicles on the road is the answer.
Regardless of whether or not the Gardner is closed, there is always going to be traffic congestion coming in and out of the city because people are driving. So the city's policies and programs such as Transform TO, the Cycling Network Plan, Metrolinx, and TTC, if they all work together to provide people with transportation options, we are going to be moving people away from relying on their cars, and we're already seeing it.
Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
Construction is now complete on the new Finch West LRT stations, but don't get too excited. As Ali Chiasson reports, there is still no ETA on when the transit line will be operational.
It's great to be here to celebrate a milestone that we believe will be a game changer, and that we have officially completed construction on all 18 stations and stops for the Finch West LRT. The Finch West line will have light rail vehicles that can reach 60 kilometers an hour, arriving every 5 minutes during peak travel times and crossing the entire line, all 18 stops, in just over half an hour.
Great. So when will we see trains rolling through here?
We are currently in the training process.
The minister didn't have an opening date.
Well, I'm waiting to try it. When is it going to be finished?
I wish I had that answer. We don't know yet.
Okay.
No, hopefully it's coming soon, you know. It's easy to go downtown, easy connection. Yeah, definitely will help this community, like at least the Humber student. So, yeah.
And like thousands of people also work here, I guess, too, right?
That's right, yeah.
It's a good thing, you know, it's like undergrounds, it will be less traffic and all this kind of thing. Lots of students are coming, so commute would be better.
Everyone agrees it will be a good thing, connecting hundreds of thousands of people in the city's northwest onto the expanding transit lines. But everyone would also agree that they don't want to see the Finch West LRT go the way of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, where the opening date has been delayed and delayed indefinitely.
All that I know, there hasn't been any word, so I guess it's just a matter of waiting. I'm confident that everyone is doing the best they can to get it open as soon as possible.
We asked the MTO if trains would be running by the end of the year, maybe, and they said an opening date will be announced in due course. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Michael Ford, Ontario's Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, is taking a leave of absence from cabinet to prioritize his health. The York Southwestern MPP, whose uncle is Premier Doug Ford, made the announcement in a statement this afternoon. That statement said this decision was made after much thought, and while it weighs very heavily on me, it is necessary for me to prioritize my health and well-being over the next couple of months. It's unclear if Ford will also be taking a leave of absence from his MPP duties. Welcome back. Toronto is famous for having people live in tight spaces, but how about a tiny mobile home attached to a bike? It is one Toronto man's idea to help offer temporary relief to people sleeping outside. And as Dale Manukduk shows us, the man is pretty proud of it, but wishes fixes like it were not needed in the first place.
This 5-foot-tall box has been parked on Front Street for 2 months. It's got a door and a doorbell, so we rang it.
Oh, how's it going?
This is Ryan Donay, the creator and executive director of nonprofit Tiny Tiny Homes. Its goal is to give the unhoused sleeping in tents in one of Toronto's many encampments some dignity.
It's not a solution to the housing crisis. It's so people aren't living so rough while they're waiting for permanent housing.
The idea to make the tiny homes came during the COVID-19 pandemic. Donay saw Khalil Seavright's tiny shelters popping up, then get torn down after a legal battle with the city due to fire hazard concerns. Seavrite has provided Donay with guidance as he gets his venture off the ground.
The biggest thing he's gave me for guiding me through this process, actually two things. Number one, I'm very transparent about who I am. My name is out there, my contact info is out there. If the city needs to get a hold of me, they can. The second big thing he gave me for advice on this is put heat in it.
With a history of his own in the shelter system and a background in construction, he decided to make his own. And this thing is tricked out.
With running water, smoke detector in the corner, you got a cooktop here.
Those are just some of the features.
And I slide it forward and it clicks in.
The couch converts into a bed. It's got electricity powered by solar panels, all built with Ontario's cargo e-bike regulations in mind.
Under the Highway Traffic Act, this is a bicycle. It has 2 or 3 wheels, it has pedals, it's a bicycle. Hence, it's been parked here for 2 months.
I'm back.
Donay has been inviting passerbyers to leave messages on the video doorbell.
Bonjour. This is a great idea. I think it's just tremendous.
The bike's top speed is 6 kilometers an hour. It can be ridden in bike lanes, though it weighs 700 pounds.
Everybody says, how do you pedal around 700 pounds? You ever seen the pedicabs downtown? When you got 3 people on that, plus the rider, plus the bike, that thing weighs 1,000. So it's possible.
That challenge will be Sam Crowder's, who Donay is gifting the $5,000 prototype.
I really don't want to do this for the winter again. I've done it before, and I've lived on curbside. I've lived on Queen Street, on empty storefronts.
The two met outside City Hall when Donay was trying to get attention.
Shout out to Olivia Chow.
My hope going forward is that we start housing our citizens. This needs to happen. I never should have created this in the first place.
Donay is hoping to give the tiny home to Crowder this fall after ironing out the remaining legal details. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Young basketball players had a slam dunk surprise today when Raptors forward Scotty Barnes met them on the court.
And you see these kids, they look up to me. They really love me. It's still a lot to get used to.
You're on the court doing drills with an NBA player. I mean, how's that feel?
Good. I get to learn from a real pro, so it's good. And he's very tall.
He certainly is. 30 members of Team Parkdale and Little Dribblers came out to play, and Barnes is an ambassador for Subway, who in partnership with the Junior NBA and Junior WNBA are giving kids an opportunity to improve their basketball skills, while of course meeting their idols and clearly having a whole lot of fun as well. Finally, tonight, this weekend, the Masters Showcase continues in Mississauga, but not the golf one. We are talking about tree climbing.
All the preliminary events, the scores and times get tallied up, and then they compete in the Masters, and then the Masters is the full showcase of all these events combined together. So I ended up, praise the Lord, I ended up getting first place last year, and I'm hoping to defend that title again this year.
Last year's winner, they're telling us all about the Ontario Tree Climbing Championship. Tomorrow, the Masters Showcase will determine the winner, and competitors face off in 5 different events, including aerial rescue and speed climbing. Colette, I feel like I've been training for that one since I was 5 years old. I wish I could compete.
You're a good tree climber?
I am a good tree climber. Are you?
I was when I was a kid. I actually loved climbing trees, but sometimes I'd go up so high I'd get stuck. But that's another story.
Well, we have some good tree climbing weather, I think, this weekend, right?
Yes. And not only that, but I thought I'd start with this graphic because it puts me right in the trees, in the branches. Yes, all the green leaves. I know, through the GTA, we haven't had too many leaves changing yet, but as we go into this weekend, we do have our autumnal equinox, and so fall begins on Sunday at 8:43 a.m. Those leaves will continue to change as the days go by. Normal high for this time of year and a normal low, but we're going to add 5 to that in both cases in terms of what we experience through the day today. And just having a look at some of those numbers across Ontario, the nation's capital at 26, Peterborough 27. How about 29 there for our friends in Windsor? And yes, with some humidity, but the pattern is changing. So it's not a widespread washout in terms of rain as we go through the day Saturday, but do know there will be some rain showers and perhaps a few embedded thunderstorms giving locally some heavier downpours, okay? Especially, say, tomorrow morning through the city and then into the early afternoon, and then much of that energy keeps tracking eastward. And so for southwestern Ontario, it's earlier in the day, and then you really are going to see improvement. And that improving structure does come in as we go into Sunday. So there may be a little bit of cloud to start the day off, but then widespread sunshine, or at least sun mixing with the clouds, so that Sunday, that first day of fall, is actually looking pretty nice in many locales, okay, from the Ottawa Valley right on back to southwestern Ontario. But that's when things are really going to change after that, because we're going to get into another pattern as an area of low pressure moves in as we go Sunday night into Monday. And I'll tell you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, well, you know what? Let's just wait here. I've got the long range forecast coming up. You can see for yourself. How about those overnight temperatures? Just taking a snapshot as we look around 4 a.m. Yeah, we'll have some readings still close to 20 in a few cases, and some mid-teens in there as well. So let me walk you through this, all right? We're still above seasonal as we go through the weekend. Yes, some wet conditions Saturday, Sunday looking pretty good, and then that's when we get into this pattern. Now, these are close to seasonal. We know that because I just showed you those at the beginning of the segment, but the wet weather sticks around a lot next week.
That's okay. We will enjoy this weekend. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.